So the question states that you have a bunch of you got a bunch of acid, and it's in liquid form, and you have a 20% acid solution, and then a 55% acid solution. And what you want to do is make 70 liters of 35% solution. And this is what those moonshiners were doing, but they weren't using. I don't think they were busting out the graphing calculator to do this in the middle of the woods. They were just pouring water in it and watching the bubbles in the jar. So, but if you go into chemistry classes, you're going to do this, but it's with moles and all kinds of different pHs. I mean, they take this to they really go all out for this kind of problem. But it's the same type idea. Okay, so we're going to do that let statement, right? So x and y. Which one do you want x to go with? The 21? Okay, so let x be, what kind of units are these? Liters. So the number of liters of 20% solution, and then y has to be, how would you define y? Okay. Oops. Shoot. I'll just abbreviate that as so well. I don't have an eraser. Alright, so if you have x liters and y liters, well shoot, you got to make 70 liters. Is that a lot of liquid, you reckon? It'd be 35 2-liter bottles, wouldn't it? Everyone knows 2 liters. And 2 of those 2 liters make a gallon, I think, close to it. So, I'll tell you a gross story after we quit recording here, but I'll go ahead and say it. I saw on the news, they talked about these meth heads where they arrested them, and apparently underneath their trailer, they was living in a trailer, but underneath their trailer, they pulled out close to 150 2-liter bottles and gallon jugs of urine and fecal matter. And apparently there's a street value for that because the people that make the meth can refine that. Because all the chemicals you take when you do meth goes through your system, and they can refine those and get them back. Because you know how it's hard to get all these drugs. There's like you can't buy cold medicine anymore because people making meth. They're refining bodily fluids to make more meth out of that. Said there was close to like $15,000 worth of it underneath that. Yeah.
How do you put a value on it though? Right?
Well, I mean, whatever you can get paid for, I guess. But they're storing up the pee because they can sell it back to the meth dealers, to the meth labs. That's horrible. So you know how it's 35 2-liter bottles. That's kind of what. Because on the news they showed all these bottles out in the front of this car. This is on the 7 o'clock news, or 6 o'clock news. Well, if you watch the news anymore, it's the 4:30 news and the 5 o'clock, the 5:30, the 6:30 news. Oh, it's gross. And then you turn back around and buy this stuff. It's ugh. But even after that gross description, we still it's kind of like just doing the same thing over. So it's almost like you're on cruise control now, because we're going to set these things up plus each other to a total, and then I put my percentages, and that last guy gets 70 times 0.35, because this is talking about the acid, and then this is acid, and this is the acid total that you have. So that's how you can get these two. Which one of those two layers you want to solve for, x or y? Let's just do x again, right? Why not? So I'll change colors here just to change it up. So x would be equal to what? You want to say negative y or plus 70? You could say this, right? 70 minus y. It doesn't matter either way. It doesn't matter. So you could say it, because your y is still negative, right? And then the 70 is still positive, so it's the same thing. So let me see if I can use this big marker here and get it a little bit larger. So I'm going to take this now and plug it in for this x right there, because that's what it's solved for. It's solved for x. I'll plug it in. So 0.2 parentheses 70 minus y plus 0.55y equals, what is 70 times 24.5? So that is 24.5. That's where we got that number from. And we distribute your 0.2. Hey, that's 14, isn't it?
Yeah.
0.2y plus 0.55y, 24.5. So we put these two y's together here. So 14 plus what, 35.35? If you take negative 0.2 and a positive 0.55. Does that sound to what you're all getting? Okay. And then you get 24.5. Then what you going to do? Subtract 14? Subtract 14? So when you subtract 14, you wind up with, this bottom of the paper here, 0.35y equals 10.5. So far, so good? Okay. Then what you going to do? Alright, we're going to divide. So, 10.5 divided by 0.35. I got 30. Did you all get 30? And y is the number of liters of 55% solution. So 30 liters of 55% acid. Well, this is going to be an easy one. I know there has to be 70 liters. That's what it told me at the beginning. So 40, right? I don't need a X is 40 liters. If you need to, you just plug it back in. But don't get caught up in all these equations and lose sight of. I've had students that would get this right, but then they plug this back in and they get a wrong answer, but they leave it that way. Like something stupid like 2. So you knew at the beginning you needed 70 liters, and you put the right answer here, but for some reason you screwed up this one because you tried to plug it back in an equation. It's easy to do, but make sure your answers make sense. Even if you got to guess at it, make a wild prediction. Make sure it adds up to 70. Don't come at 2 liters and 5 liters. That guess wouldn't make any sense because it doesn't add up to 70. So you got to make sure those dudes are making sense.